diagram or something like that. So anytime you have an inflammatory response, that means that there are white blood cells that are leaving the blood and going into the tissues. That's what we mean by an inflammatory response. That's inflammation. And there's also, along with that, there's a lot of edema that's produced. So there are some common things that happen with every inflammatory response. First of all, there's a stimulus. So in this case, it's a viral infection. You might want to write this down instead of taking my picture.
Can record your voice.
Oh, all right. Okay, so there's a stimulus, and that's going to lead to four things.
Every minute is.
Right. That's going to lead to an increase in capillary dilation. So we're going to have capillary dilation. We're going to have increased vascular permeability. All right. We're going to have increased expression of adhesion molecules. Now, did I go over what those are? First time?
No, ma'am.
Kind of direct the cells towards the site of infection.
Yeah. Okay, they're like stop signs, I'll tell you in a minute. Then we're going to have increased recruitment and migration of white blood cells into tissues. So it goes kind of in a stepwise fashion, following, an infection or an injury would be the stimulus. Infection or injury would be the stimulus that would lead to the release of mediators. These are called inflammatory mediators. Okay. So infection or injury of the tissue leads to the release of inflammatory mediators. We'll get back to that in just a minute. Those inflammatory mediators then cause capillary dilation, increased vascular permeability. Remember what that was? We had vascular cells like this. The vascular endothelial cells are lined up like that, and they get stimulated by an inflammatory mediator, and they're going to contract so that you have a space between them that the white blood cells can wiggle through. So that's in, and also.
So it's the endothelial cells contracting, right?
Yeah, vascular permeability is increased because the vascular endothelial cells contract. And then there's increased expression of adhesion molecules. So these little stop signs pop up on the endothelium. If this is where the blood is, this is the blood side, this is the tissue side. And these rectangles here are endothelial cells lining the blood. They're going to pop up these little stop signs so that when a white blood cell is traveling past, it sees these stop signs and it slows down. And then it goes through the space between the endothelial cells.
Do you have to have adhesion molecules for them to be able to migrate to the endothelium?
Yeah, the question is, do you have to have those adhesion molecules? And the answer is yes. You really have to have the adhesion molecules. And they're...
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Do those all happen simultaneously, or like capillary dilation, vascular permeability, all those happen simultaneously, or does capillary dilation lead to vascular permeability, which leads to expression of additional molecules? Like, or do they just all happen simultaneously?
Fairly simultaneously.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So in order for the WBCs to wiggle through, the adhesion molecules are needed?
Yeah, the adhesion molecules are there so that the white blood cells recognize that this is a place where they have to slow down.
But wouldn't like some just randomly just go down there anyway because there's a space open, but not as much, you know, since there is an
I guess
opening.
it's possible, but you're not gonna
Get a sufficient amount. Probably.
There is actually, to be clinical, there is a disease in which there's an adhesion molecule deficiency disease, and those people can't carry out inflammatory responses. So are they necessary? I would say, based on that, yes. That if it happens to come through, if a few happen to come through sort of accidentally, it's not going to be enough.
Does adhesion molecule bind to the epithelial cell receptor?
The adhesion molecule is a transmembrane protein on the endothelial cell, and there's a receptor for it on the membrane of a white blood cell.
Okay.
Okay. So, and then the last one was recruitment and migration of white blood cells. I showed you how that goes. So inflammatory mediators would be things like histamine. And where did that come from?
Mast cells.
Mast cells. Right. Not eosinophils, mast cells, and basophils. Mast cells and basophils.
But you said it confident though, so it's good. You said it confident enough.
All right. Another important inflammatory mediator that does a lot of this is TNF, tumor necrosis factor alpha. Tumor necrosis factor alpha will cause increased vascular permeability and upregulation of adhesion molecules. Histamine, if I have another pen, histamine will cause dilation and increased vascular permeability. And then chemokines. Everybody's heard of chemokines, right?
We've heard of them, but we haven't really.
Okay.
What are the mast
Chemokines
cells?
are cytokines that are that
vascular
attract
permeability.
cells that cause cells to undergo chemotaxis, or they are attracted, they follow to the source of the chemokine. So
What is chemotaxis?
chemotaxis means moving in the direction of a chemical stimulus. So chemokines are cytokines that are chemotactic.
So
Does that make
basically,
sense?
chemokines cause inflammation then.
Chemokines play an important role in this part. They're the ones involved in recruitment and migration. Because this white blood cell stops, well, it doesn't really, well, it sort of does stop, because of the adhesion molecules. But what tells it where to go? I mean, if the stimulus is down here in the tissues, how does that guy know to go down and over here to get to where the stimulus is, let's say bacteria or virus? Because cells in this area, these are host cells, and they're releasing chemokines, which are going up and out here.
Dr. Buxton, you wrote tissue right there. What is the tissue showing?
Okay, so this is the bloodstream right here,
Okay, so that's our tissue right there.
and this is the tissue.
Okay.
This is the stimulus, whatever it is, the infection, infectious agent. So that's what's going on with the inflammatory response. So putting it in the context of measles virus,
Starts the infection.
you have
Rash.
What's that?
you have the measles virus in the
causes
skin, right?
chemokines
And the rash is going to be caused by the white blood cells coming. It's caused by the inflammatory response. So the redness is partially caused by capillary dilation, but it's also caused by the presence of white blood cells and the damage that it's doing, right? That they're doing to the infected